Help support Name Explain by liking this video, leaving a comment and subscribing to the channel. Shapes are pretty universally agreed upon things. If you think of a square, it's most likely this will come to mind. If you think of a circle, this will come to mind. And if you think of a triangle, this will come to mind. Shapes really are just one of those things that are just ingrained into us at an early age. If you're anything like myself, I imagine some of your earliest school memories are learning shapes. However, while these names on the whole relate only / primarily to these shapes, this isn't always the case. Say of the word star, while this is the name for a shape, there's also the actual stars in the night sky, which I'm pretty sure actually aren't the same shape as the star shape we all know. Though this video isn't about the stars of the night sky, but rather another name that is linked to a shape and a thing that looks nothing like the shape. Now, when I say heart, what exactly comes to mind? If it's this shape, then that is correct, as this shape is called a heart. However, this wasn't the first thing to be called a heart. The horrid thing that is constantly beating and pushing blood around your body, sitting within your ribcage, was the first thing to be called a heart. Hearts really freak me out, and I feel this quote from Bill Bryson's book, The Body, A Guide for Occupants, really explains why I have this feeling. It is the most single-minded thing within you. It has just one job to do, and it does it supremely well. It beats, slightly more than once every second, about 100,000 times a day, as many as 3.5 billion times in a lifetime. It rhythmically pulses to push blood through your body, and these aren't gentle thrusts. These are jolts powerful enough to send blood spurting up to 3 meters if the aorta is severed. With such an unrelenting work rate, it's a miracle that most hearts last as long as they do. Every hour your heart dispenses around 70 gallons of blood. That's 1,680 gallons in a day. More gallons pushed through you in a day than you are likely to put in your car in a year. The heart must pump with enough force not to merely send blood to your outermost extremities, but to help bring it all the way back again. If you are standing, your heart is roughly 4 feet above your feet, so there's a lot of gravity to overcome on the return trip. Imagine squeezing a pump the size of a grapefruit with enough force to move a fluid 4 feet up a tube. Now do that again once every second or so, around the clock, unceasingly, for decades, and see if you don't feel a bit tired. After reading this, I suddenly became really aware of what exactly was going on inside my body. Of course, human hearts have been known about for a seriously long time, so there isn't really a neat story as to how the name heart came about. All we really seem to know is that heart in Old English was Hirta, and the EA spelling with the second E removed came about in the 1500s. It came into Old English via the likes of the Old Saxon Hullata, Old Norse Hullata, Gothic Hullato, and ultimately derived from the Proto-Indo-European Kurd, meaning heart. It's safe to say that this video could get a little bit confusing, so I'm calling this heart a human heart and this heart a love heart. Checking the OED gives us a ton of definitions for the word heart, but the definitions we're interested in are the first one, the hollow muscular organ which performs the function of a pump in a circulatory system, receiving blood from the veins and contracting to propel it into the arteries, and the 24th definition, a representation, more or less conventionalized, of the human heart or of its shape and outline, especially a symmetrical figure, formed of 2 similar curves meeting in a point at one end and a cusp at the other. The conventionalized shape is often used as a symbol of romantic love or affection. It's these 2 definitions of heart we are most interested in today. The love heart is something in language terms that's called an ideogram / pictogram. An ideogram is a single image that can convey an idea or an entire sentence, say a no smoking sign. People seeing this will immediately know it means no smoking, despite the fact no words are used. The love heart is exactly like this too. If you want to tell someone you love them, a simple love heart will say just as much as any words could. And in these modern times, love hearts are probably most often seen on the screens of our devices as emojis, but love hearts appear all over the place. They can be seen on greeting cards, on clothing, as sweets, as tattoos, on walls, as glasses in skywriting, on the top of lowercase i's of preteens, in advertising campaigns, as food. If it exists, there has most likely been a love heart version of it. They're that used throughout the planet. Actual human hearts, however, aren't seen as often in life, and as you can see, these things look really different. So why is the organ and the shape both called a heart? Actually, just a quick tangent about the word organ. This comes from the Greek organon, which means something you work with, and this could really be anything from a part of the body, a tool, or even a musical instrument. In fact, in the past, most instruments were called an organ, but with just an extra word to help differentiate them, like with mouth organ. The big instrument in churches were initially called pipe organs, as they used pipes to make sound, but over time the pipe part disappeared and they are just called organs, hence why the instrument in churches and the parts of our body are both called organs. This has nothing to do with the rest of the video, but it's a fun fact I wouldn't be able to make a whole video out, and it helps make this video longer so I can make more money out of it. Hey, at least I'm being honest. There is one thing that ties together the love heart and the human heart, and that is love. Throughout history, we have really linked together our feelings towards our significant others and the muscle beating away constantly in our chests. Ancient Greek poet Sappho wrote about her mad heart quaking with love, and in other fragments of her poetry that survived, she wrote about her love-shook heart. And the Romans held the idea that there was a vein from your heart that went straight to the fourth finger of your left hand. As they thought that this finger had a direct link to the heart, it was the finger they put rings on each other to show how much they loved one another. While we know this vein doesn't exist, this tradition lives on with wedding rings. In reality, it's your brain that deals more with your feelings of love and other emotions. However, while people aren't too sure how exactly, it's believed there is a link between your brain and your heart, though I'm sure you have felt it yourself. Have you ever seen someone you love and had fluttering feelings in your heart/chest area? And when we see or hear something that upsets us, sometimes you'll feel a sinking feeling in your heart. One way or another, our emotional reactions create a physical reaction in the heart, and this reaction tends to be love related, hence why human hearts became associated with love. So while we know how and why the human heart became linked to love, why on earth did this shape come to represent that heartfelt love, and even be called the heart? Well, we aren't really too sure. Do we have a few ideas, and one in particular I will be looking into today. The oldest known image we have of a love heart shape comes from a Roman coin dating back from around 510 to 490 BC. However, here it's thought not to have represented the love heart, but rather the seed of the silphium plant. The silphium was a type of giant fennel that the Romans adored. In fact, they loved it so much they actually harvested it into extinction. The plant was used by the Romans as a spice and medicine. However, it had another use to them, and that was as an early form of contraceptive. How they actually made it into a contraceptive and how successful it was, however, I couldn't find out. So because this plant was used as a birth control, it's thought that it became associated with sex and love, as did its seed, which to us in the modern day could only be described as being heart-shaped. However, this isn't the only story I've read. It may have come from leaves of various plants, and the other popular theory I've heard is that it may have been shaped after various parts of the human body. There are many parts of the body that are shaped with two bumps. I've read it could have been shaped after a woman's chest, or if you turn the love heart upside down, it is seen as looking like a man's private area, or more popularly, a woman's behind. Honestly, the butt idea for the love heart is one I'd heard before I even started writing this video. While we may have a good idea as to how this shape became linked to love, primarily thanks to the seed on an extinct giant fennel, how on earth did it get linked to being a heart and get the name of heart too? This could have possibly come from the famed Greek philosopher Aristotle, who lived between 384 and 322 BC. He often wrote about the human anatomy and wanted to explain how our insides worked and what they looked like. He described the heart as having 3 chambers, and most importantly for us, it having a dent in the middle at the top. While we know the heart actually has 4 chambers and doesn't really have a defined dent in the middle, this description very much sounds like the seed symbol linked to love we mentioned earlier. And later in history, Greek physician, surgeon and philosopher Galen too described the heart as being like this. Over time, this shape got linked to the human heart, and in paintings and artwork of the Middle Ages, we see paintings with hearts that look like this. So if we followed this route to the heart, we had the human heart, which was linked to love, and the shape of the giant fennel seed, which too got linked to love. And then later in history, a description of the human heart sounded somewhat like the shape of the giant fennel seed, so the shape of the seed got linked to being the same shape as the human heart. So the 3 things of the human heart, this shape and the concept of love all got linked together and formed a love heart. So that is why this shape is called a heart, despite the fact it looks nothing like the human heart. TLDR, the human heart was linked to love, this shape was linked to love, this shape and the human heart got linked together, so this shape took on the name heart. However, there is one other place where we see this shape where it isn't linked to the human body or love, and that's with playing cards. Many nations claim to have invented the playing cards, with the most solid argument coming from China. However, despite this, many countries put their own twists on the classic deck, using different images on them. Initially, these symbols, or suits as they are known as, were very ornate on playing cards, but as they became more popular, these symbols were simplified to make them easier to produce. It was the French playing cards where the classic 4 suits we use to this day came from, these being the club, diamond, spade and of course heart. I imagine the heart was used in this time as a simple design that is pretty universally known, though I also read that the suits in the deck were meant to represent classes of medieval society, and the modern heart was initially cups and chalices, which may have represented the clergy. However, we aren't that interested in playing cards today. We are more interested in these hearts representing love, and that's because today is the day most linked with love and love hearts, Valentine's Day. So as a little bonus, why don't we look into where exactly the name for this day came from? This day is of course named after Saint Valentine, who was martyred in the 3rd century and is commemorated by the church on this day. In his life he didn't really do anything related to love, but mid-February is the time when spring starts to approach in the northern hemisphere and animals start to find mates. So with love in the air at this time, Valentine's Day ended up getting linked to love primarily because of where it lies in the calendar. The word Valentine itself, however, is believed to come from the Latin valentia, meaning strength and capacity. It's believed this word relates to the word valence, which seems to now be a chemistry term. However, one definition I read defined it as the capacity of one person or thing to react or affect another person in some special way, which seems very fitting to the whole lovey-dovey theme this video's had. So happy Valentine's Day all. Spend it in any way that makes you happy, whether that be with someone you care for or on your own doing something you love. Personally, I'm spending mine making these videos, which I love, I think. Thank you to all my patrons who support Name Explain on a monthly basis. Name Explain depends on small monthly donations from fans like you to help keep the channel running. Just a small amount of $2 a month helps in a huge way, grants you patron exclusive Name Explain extras, and gets your name here with all these awesome people. Thank you. Hello all and thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. Stick around and check out another video and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Name Explain. You can follow myself on Twitter at NameExplainYT. Follow me there and tweet the name Cupid at me so I know you came from this message. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and once again, thank you all so much.